everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making another skirt. I've had this fabric for a while now and I didn't know what to do with it because it was left over from a previous project and there isn't quite enough to make something bigger, so I settled on making a skirt. It has a really nice drape to it, so I think it would make a really nice skirt. And if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And let's get started. This skirt is made of 3 tiers, and to make the tiers, I first measured out how long I wanted the whole skirt to be and divided that by 3, then added 1 centimeters of a seam allowance to each side. That ended up being 13 centimeters, so I cut out as many 13 centimeter long strips I could with the width of the fabric I already had. I was able to cut a lot more than I initially thought, which was really good because that meant the skirt would have more volume and would be more frilly. And then I laid it out to decide how long each tier would be because I was going to connect them to make each tier. The first tier should be the shortest and the last one the longest. Next, I sewed the strips together using French seams for a stronger seam since this fabric was very thin. A French seam is where you sew the seam wrong sides together first before sewing them right sides together in order to encase the raw edge in the seam. This fabric did not fray, so that wasn't really an issue. I also didn't have any brown thread, so I had to use black thread and was worried it would look bad, but it actually ended up being hard to tell and matched pretty well with the skirt. And I repeated the step of sewing the strips together until each tier was one long strip of fabric. And this is what they all looked like once that was done. As you can see, the third tier is much longer than the first one. Then I had to gather them in order to fit them into each other. I was originally trying to gather them by using a tight stitch tension so that I could just gather it on the machine, but that ended up being too hard to know what the finished length would be, and it didn't fit with the tier above it, so I ended up making 2 loose parallel basting stitches along the top of the second and third tier. I gathered it along the line of stitching to fit into the tier above and sewed it down between the parallel lines of stitching. I didn't use a French seam for this because I wanted the skirt to be nice and flowy and was afraid that the French seams would make it stiffer and lay weirder. Also, for the basting stitches, I made sure to use a thread that I had a lot of and didn't use very often because they were just going to get taken out anyways. And this is what it was looking like after all the tiers were put together. As you can tell, it was pretty long. I put the 2 ends together and sewed it to make one big loop. I then cut out the waistband with the extra fabric I had left over, and I made it long enough to comfortably fit over my hips and a little over 8 centimeters wide. I sewed the ends together to make a loop just like we did with the skirt, and then I gathered the top of the skirt and fit it into the waistband the same way I did with the skirt tiers, and I made sure to mark the center for both pieces that the gathers would be evenly spaced. I sewed them right sides together to attach them. And next came my favorite part of any project recently, which is sewing in my tag. I sewed it in the waistband in the back, and don't worry, it won't be seen even though it has see-through fabric because there's going to be elastic in front of it, which is going to prevent it from being seen. Then I folded over a bit of the waistband over to the wrong side and then folded the whole thing in half to the wrong side, pinning it slightly past the seam I just made so that I could sew it from the right side and secure it in place. I left a little bit open so that I could thread the elastic through. And then I took a piece of elastic the size of my waist and put it on a safety pin so I could thread it through the waistband. I zigzag stitched the ends of the elastic together before closing the waistband opening. I didn't hem the skirt because I didn't want the hem to add bulk, and then the skirt was all finished. I really like how it turned out, and now I can wear it with my matching top, which is the original project the fabric was for. At first, I thought I might have to add a lining, but I think it's opaque enough without one, and I can definitely see myself getting a lot of use out of this skirt. I just really love how flowy and frilly it is. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time!